Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our July 18th, 2023 meeting for York City Council. We will open up with public comment on non-agenda items only. We have two forms here, so up first, Mr. King.
Good evening to everybody. I live on Duke Street for the last 54 years. A couple of years back, we had a recovery house moved in called Choice. And last year, it was sold to somebody else. I talked to city council, I talked to the zoning office lady, and I asked her about the place, and she said it's still Choice. Choice was sold, the house 825 South Duke Street was sold in July of last year. It was sold. And then now there's another organization in the property, and it looks to be like homeless people, because before the people were in the Choice, these guys had to work. Now these guys are bussed out and in by some organization. And my concern is that the foul language that comes from this house is 3 doors down from me. And the foul language that comes out of there, like, F and MF and whatever, them type of words, is coming out this your place. All these people sit out back talking, and there's no respect. And I want to find out, you call the Choice number, and of course, Choice is disconnected. My concern is, who are the people? Because I'm like this here, if someone moves into the neighborhood, it's a private family, that's their business. But when you have an organization that comes into the neighborhood that's bringing people in, that's homeless people, my interpretation, I'd like to know who it is so I can call the people, say, hey, you're making too much noise or whatever. But when you can't call to question these people at roundabout, there's no phone number to contact these people. So that's my concern. And it really, it says, the zoning office says this Choice still owns the house, but the house was sold last July, okay? So I would like to know, because, if the police come into your neighborhood and like to say, well, did you see this? Can I see your cameras? Property owners like to help the police as much as possible, and then I'm just saying, city council needs to help the property owners to let them know certain things are going on, because you depend on us a whole lot, but then when we ask for something like come down here, everything's solid. Now in 825 South Duke Street, there's another type of organization that's in there. They have about 8 to 9 guys in there, and they always bust them out in the morning and bust them back in the evening time. So I know these guys don't work. And my opinion is that they're like homeless people. And my concern is, I'd like to know who they are so we can call and say, hey, tone down your language, because the language, I had to take my grandkids back into the house because the language is so foul. And this house is a 3rd door down from me. So, and I just like to let you know, and like to get a response if I can. You have my name there. And if you need any more information, I'm willing to give to you, okay? Thank you.
So you said the address was 825?
825 South Duke Street. It used to be Choice. And the lady in the zoning office said, well, it's still Choice. I called the Choice number, which has been disconnected for a couple of months to almost a year. So I don't know if they're running under Choice or not. I don't know. But zoning office doesn't know very much either who's in the house, really.
Mr. King,
Yes.
would you like a response from administration?
Yes, what is
Okay.
for you guys? You have my information. If you need some more, then let me know.
You have his email and phone number? Or
No, yeah, you want to put your contact number.
can you put your contact info?
Yes, ma'am.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
You're fine.
It's fine.
I'm getting old.
We all are.
I'm getting younger.
Up next, we have Mr. Carr.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to piggyback on what Mr. King was talking about from 825 South Duke Street. I live across the street in 830 South Duke Street, and our what we're looking at is, are these people registered, if they're sex offenders, if they're from out of town? They also had people with Choice that had the drug rehab house, and I know that they come from all over the state. So are they, documented and registered with York City? Also, is there a limitation on how many people they can have in the homes? So that's what we're looking at. We know that someone came around a few weeks ago, Mr. King, but they wouldn't answer the door. So, like Mr. King says, they leave at like 8:30 in the mornings. It's a big van that leaves, and they come back around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, but they only go around the back. I can't hear what's going on around back, but everything's drawn, all the curtains are drawn and everything. But we just want to make sure, because we have a young daughter who will be there by herself, taking out trash and stuff like that while we're working. We make sure that there are no sex offenders in the area, and if they're registered. And we did go through the sex offender register to see if there was anything in the homes, and of course we didn't see that. But I thank you for your time, and that's what we're primarily looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on non-agenda items only? Hearing none, we will adjourn our public comment session, and I will call our legislative meeting to order at 6:06 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis.
Here.
Buckingham.
Here.
Rivera.
Here.
Washington.
Here.
Walker.
Here. And if you're able to, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We will now take action on previous meeting minutes from June 6, 2023 and June 13, 2023. Council, any changes or updates?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those meeting minutes are approved. No presentations, awards, or announcements. Our next legislative meeting for council will be held Tuesday, August 15th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in council chambers. Agenda items are due by 12 noon on August 12th. No prior reports, so we will move on to our legislative agenda. Up first, final passage of bills and resolutions. And we have final passage of bill number 34, and that is so moved.
That is Bill number 34, ordinance number 33, which was introduced by Sandy Walker at the June 6th meeting of council. It's an ordinance amending the 2023 budget for Parks and Recreation for upgrades to the Princess Street Center using ARPA funds in the amount of $350,000.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis.
Yes.
Buckingham.
Yes.
Rivera.
No.
Washington.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. And that is so ordered. Moving on to final passage of bill number 35.
Oh, I'm sorry. Move to approve.
Second.
And that is bill number 35, ordinance number 34, final passage of a bill amending the 2023 budget in the amount of $350,000 to pay invoices associated with completion of the 2022 phase of the George Street repaving project from PennDOT funding.
It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
None.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis.
Yes.
Buckingham.
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. And that is so ordered. Moving on to final passage of Bill number 36.
Move to approve.
Second.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get caught up here. I was having some problems getting into my computer. Okay, so that is Bill number 36, ordinance number 35. It's a bill amending the 2023 budget for the Family Health Council of Central PA in the amount of $5,000, childhood-led lead poisoning prevention program in the amount of $7,401, Healthy Moms, Healthy Babies program in the amount of $112,761, and various other health-related grants.
It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
No.
None.
None.
Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis.
Yes.
Buckingham.
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. And that is so ordered. Up next, final passage of Bill number 37.
Move to approve.
Second.
That is Bill number 37, ordinance number 36, amending the fiscal year 2023 budget in the amount of $40,427 for monies not otherwise appropriated for Fund 26 special projects for various initiatives, including the Senior Security Camera Program.
It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from council?
None.
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis.
Yes.
Buckingham.
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. And that is so ordered. Up next, final passage of Bill number 38.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
That's Bill number 38, ordinance number 37, amending Article 713.03 of the codified ordinances to grant the mayor sole authority to designate open container areas. That's it.
Any questions or comments from council?
None.
Any questions or comments from the public? Madam Clerk, can you please
Yeah, one question.
come on up?
Manuel Gomez, resident, City of York, of course. Good evening. I'm curious as to the rationale for granting sole authority to the mayor's office with regards to this particular approval for open containers. I think I understand the rationale, and I hope that you do understand the rationale for why it would be council and the mayor. Curious why it would just be the mayor. Is it just an administrative thing? Is it a question of efficiency, or have you considered other aspects of why it's sort of a joint approval between council and the mayor? It's just something that I'm pondering.
Thank you. So usually this comes before council every request. If there's a request, primarily it started with COVID and the request for downtown area to have open containers for the restaurants. And it's up to council after we vote on this as to whether or not we approve or we're okay with the mayor having sole authority to do so. It was requested from the mayor's office, and so we'll find out with the vote. And once that occurs, there won't be a need to come before council for open container. Come on up.
To follow up, Madam Chair, thank you for that. The reason I see this being a check and balance is you have to guard against potential cronyism and influence peddling. This has nothing to do with the current mayor, but envision a scenario where you have one set of business entities or another, and the mayor, especially in a small town, may wish to favor one small set of business entities or areas versus others. If you don't have a check and balance, it's a lot more difficult to enter into that sort of scenario. If you have a special interest, when it's 6 people that you have to combine into that sort of arrangement rather than just one, and one particular office gets to arbitrarily tick that box. So please do consider those safeguards, not just for now, but in the future.
Thank you. Just give me one moment. I can find this. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
No.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes. That is so ordered. Moving on to introduction of bills, and we will have introduction of bill number 39.
So introduced.
Okay, just give me 1 second, folks. And that is Bill number 35, introduced by Felicia what did I say, 30, did I say 29? I'm sorry, introduction of Bill number 39, introduced by Felicia Dennis. It's amending the 2023 budget for Parks and Recreation by appropriating revenue and expenditures for the donation received for the purchase of bikes in the total of $650.
That is an introduction, so we'll sit until our next legislative meeting as all the following items as introductions. Moving on to introduction of bill number 40.
So introduced.
Bill number 40, introduced by Aquina Washington, a bill amending the fiscal year 2023 budget for the police department to fund more graduations, less funerals, opportunity scholarships by appropriating revenue and expenditures from ARPA funds in the amount of $125,000.
Moving on to introduction of bill number 41.
So introduced.
Bill number 41, introduced by Aquina Washington, is amending the 2023 budget for the police department for the County of York as a pass-through from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for a sub-grant of federal coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds in the amount of $178,607, and for the Fund 26 special projects for the grant received from the Rotary Club of York in support of the Group Violence Initiative in the amount of $10,000.
Moving on to introduction of bill number 42.
So introduced.
Bill number 42, introduced by Aquina Washington, amending the 2023 budget for fire and rescue by appropriating revenue expenditures for the grant received from the Office of State Fire Commission in the amount of $15,000.
Up next, introduction of bill number 43.
Bill number 43, I'm sorry.
So introduced.
Bill number 43, introduced by Betsy Buckingham, a bill amending the 2023 budget for the Finance Office from monies not otherwise appropriated from Funds 40 and 45, debt service payments in the amount of $925,074.81.
Moving on to bill number 44.
So introduced.
Bill number 44, introduced by Betsy Buckingham, reducing the board members of the General Authority from 7 members to 5 members.
And our last introduction, Bill number 45.
So introduced.
Bill number 45, 44, 45. Okay. Bill number 45, introduced by Lou Rivera. It is a bill establishing Article 701, Youth Mental Health Protection, which is identifying conversion therapy as a general offense within the city of York.
Moving on to new business. Since we did not have a committee meeting, council, do you want to proceed with the consent agenda, or do you want to go through these items one by one?
I didn't have any questions on any of them when I reviewed them. I'm fine with the consent agenda.
Is there a motion to proceed with the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That'll be me. Opposed. All right. Yes, we'll get to that. Mhm. Council, please review items 13 through 21. If there are any items you would like to pull, please share them. Are there any items you would like to pull? Okay. Is there a motion to approve items 13 through 21?
I'm sorry, President Walker, there's an amendment to agenda item number 14. It should be the approving a preliminary final land development plan, not a subdivision plan. Is there a motion to accept the amendment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
Is that what you're going to talk about?
Is there a motion to approve items 13 through 21?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments from council for items 13 through 21? Any questions or comments from the public?
Yes, Tom Englis from Site Design Concepts. Item number 13, the subdivision plan for the Apple Service Center. There should also be a land development plan added to that. There was a separate subdivision and land development plan for that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Item 13 for the Apple Service Center. There was a subdivision, there were 2 separate plans associated with this, a subdivision plan and a land development plan. Both were recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and both should be included in this resolution, I'm hoping.
You said agenda item number 13?
Correct.
No, I didn't get those. I didn't get those from the planner.
Okay. We'll work on that next month. And then item 14, just for clarification, and you clarified that that was a land development, not a subdivision.
Correct.
But that's not a plan, that was a land development waiver. And again, that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission earlier this month.
Okay, so you're saying that the preliminary final land development, land development plan is a waiver?
Yeah, there was no, so we worked with staff and we worked with the Planning Commission around the lack of public improvements that were associated with, and we requested a waiver of land development. And that's what was presented and recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. There was no plan.
Okay.
Item
We met
number
with
one
staff.
does include a waiver.
The applicant is following waivers to the subdivision and land development ordinance. There are waivers in here to section 1333.03, preliminary plan prior to consideration of final plan. Do you know?
Perfect, that's what that is.
Okay.
Yes?
And then a waiver to section 1336 about curbs and sidewalks on both sides of the street. Alternate justification, since no improvements are proposed as part of the subdivision plan, it is requested to not require curb and sidewalks along the street of the property at 1128 Roosevelt and sidewalk along the property at 1060 Marbrook.
That's for 13.
No, those are different.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong
Yeah,
one?
look at- just go the next one to 14.
Okay. All right.
But there are waivers
The
included.
waivers, okay, so the waiver for this, is this 135 Duke Street? Okay, so this one here says, submittal of a preliminary plan, a waiver of the preliminary plan requirement is requested due to the simplicity of the project. Okay, submittal of a final plan, a waiver of the final plan requirement is requested due to the simplicity of the project.
And that's correct.
Okay, yeah, so that's not, that where it
So I
should be.
certainly don't want to complicate things, but just wanted to make sure that you were aware, you're not recommending approval of a land development plan. You're recommending, or you are actually approving a waiver of the land development plan process
Okay.
Thank
due to the lack of public
Okay.
improvements and the simplicity of the plan.
Waiver, a waiver to, okay, so it's a waiver to the preliminary final land development plan. Okay, council, is there a motion to approve, amend the resolution to read, whereas RSDC parking lot configuration submitted a waiver to a preliminary final land development plan for the properties at 135 South Duke Street. Is there a motion to amend that to include the language of waiver?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
And that as amended, as presented. Any other questions or comments from the public for items 13 through 21? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Okay, Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. And that is so ordered. No request for future meetings. Is there any council comment? Just for our new citizens that have attended our meeting for the first time, when it comes to public comment on non-agenda items only, we turn that over to administration to follow up with you with a request or any answers. No problem. Administration comment? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Everyone have a good evening.